Welcome to the Rational Egoist. I'm your host, Michael Liebowitz, and with us once again is Professor Andrew Bernstein. He's a radical for capitalism, an objectivist, an author, and an all-around superb human being.
Even though we disagree about Trump.
It's all
Thank you,
right.
thank you.
That's
Right.
okay.
Yeah, yes, it is okay.
So we're doing a series where we're going to discuss various movies and discuss them within the framework of Ayn Rand's aesthetics. And today, once again, Andy picked out a movie for us. This is a black and white film. I think it was made in the 60s. It's called
In
The
nine-
Train.
1964, I think.
All right. So what's it about? Talk to us.
Well, first of all, let's say spoiler alerts for anybody who hasn't seen this movie, because we're gonna in our discussion the ending is important.
Of course, yeah.
Obviously. So then this is in my judgment, this is a great movie. It's an underrated gem. Yeah, it is in black and white, which is appropriate because it's grim. There's parts of this movie are grim and intense. Anyhow, takes place in August of 1944 in France, in Paris, and its environs. Allied troops are advancing on Paris. They expect to be liberated any day. We have a German, Wehrmacht officer, Franz von Waldheim, played beautifully by Paul Scofield, who is an art lover and he loves French art. He's not a humanities lover, but he is an art lover, and he concocts a scheme to steal some of the greatest works in the history of French art from the French, bring it to Germany. He gets a train to do it. The German High Command reluctant because they have to ship men and supplies and everything as the Allies advance on Paris. But he points out that on the open market, these artworks are worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. So the German High Command consents. They get a train. Uh, the curator of the museum, from which I forget her name offhand, but she goes to the French Resistance. One of their leaders is played Paul Leish, played by Burt Lancaster, brilliantly by Lancaster, to try and sabotage the train, not to blow up the train because those artworks are not just the monetary value, but the glory of France. You get this nationalist element, the glory of France and all these great artworks, but to sabotage the train's forward motion to Germany, keep it in France until the Allied troops arrive. And so the conflict begins, and you get this intense conflict between two maniacs. One, the Paul Scofield character, absolutely determined at all costs to get these paintings to Germany, no matter how many, innocent French civilians he has to kill. And the other, the Burt Lancaster character, Labiche, absolutely determined to stop them, and the conflict is intense. And some of the things the French resistance do, Michael, are very clever, to outwit the Germans. It really is. It really is a great story. You haven't seen it, I would turn this off now, go watch the movie, and then come back and watch our podcast.
But make sure they come back.
Yeah, yeah, definitely come back to watch our podcast. Definitely.
And then they can see if they agree with us or not.
Right.
So this
Right.
is loosely based on a true story, I think, right?
I'm not sure about that. Could be. I don't
I
know.
think
I
so.
don't know. I don't know the history.
So these guys, the Paul Labiche character and his associates are part of the French resistance. And the implication that I got is that they were train saboteurs. They worked for the railway and they would organize to sabotage trains to stop shipments or whatever. They had been doing this. And the museum curator goes to them and asks them to stop this train with all the French art on it. And Labiche, the Burt Lancaster character, says no. He says, I'm not going to sacrifice any more lives. He said, look, we started off as 19. Now we're down to 4. And I'm not going to risk lives over artwork. Right. So
Yes.
what happens? What convinces him no, he has to sabotage this train and prevent it from getting to Germany?
Right. The remaining French resistance movements in this particular cell, there's like 3 or 4 of them left. None of them are art lovers. They're railroad guys, and they're not art lovers, but they're freedom lovers. Excuse me. Fighting against Nazi oppression, and Burt Lancaster, Paul Labiche, in effect, we value human lives. We value lives of the resistance. We value the lives of the French civilians because any sabotage we do, the Germans, perpetrate reprisals, and then they murder civilians. You always have to, he says that to the curator. You always have to factor that in. Innocent people are going to be killed by the Nazis if we, if we do this. So right away, you raise this moral question that really becomes powerful at the end regarding, the value of great artworks in contrast to the value of innocent human lives. There's this, there's a serious moral conflict right from the start. And then, so the other resistance members, they want to go along with the curator. They want to save the glory of French art from the Nazis. But Papa Bull, who is he's a crusty old curmudgeon of a character. He's elderly. These guys are expert railroad men. They're professional railroad men. Papa Bull's an engineer, and he says at one point that he's the one who trained Leish, as a railroad man. He was his mentor. And Papa Bull is on board for this, literally, and he sabotages the train's first attempt to get to Germany. He puts I don't know, 4 franc piece in the oil, in the what do you call the I don't know what, there's no carburetors on train, I guess, but
I have no idea. He
I don't
does
know, but
something.
the machinery, he gets into the machinery, sabotages the train, foolishly takes the 4 franc piece, puts it back in his pocket, and the Nazis find it in his pocket. They realize that he sabotaged the train. They kill him, and Leish is pleading with the Nazis, please, he's a foolish old man. I'll get this train out tomorrow morning. I'll take it myself, to Germany. Please don't kill Papa Bull. Papa Bull says, "You swine." He spits at the Nazis, and they shoot him. And that's, I think, at that point, Leish said, "All right, my mentor Papa Bull died for this cause, and I'm on board." And the resistance keeps getting the messages from London, that they want to stop the train. London wants to stop the train to preserve the French art. And Leibow's attitude, well, London wants to stop the train. Well, why don't they get their troops here, in time? Meanwhile, we're dying. Innocent Frenchmen are dying for this cause. But he becomes reluctantly, but he gets on board. Literally, he gets on board the train, on the attempt to sabotage the train's attempt to reach Germany.
So you mentioned this hoodwink that they pulled. It was absolutely brilliant. It was phenomenal.
Yes.
Describe that a little bit, because that was great. That's one of my favorite parts of the whole movie.
Yeah, me too. I was a child when this film came out. I think it was 1964. I saw it. I remember seeing it with my dad. Liked it then. I've seen it numerous times since on late night TV and now on Amazon Prime. I've never seen. Yeah, the French resistance, in order to fool the German, they have all kinds of crack ups and collisions and stuff they cause to delay the train, hoping the Allied troops are supposed to be here any day. But their pace de resistance of their attempt to stop the train is, so the Germans get the train moving, and they have a scheme. They switch tracks from going straight line towards Germany to circle back to Paris. And so they contact the station masters at all these different stations along the way. The Germans know the exact stops, in France on the way to Germany. And the station masters at these various stops in stations in France, a part of the resistance, they cover up the sign, the sign of the town's name with the sign of the name of the town that's next on the route to Germany. And so the German troops on board the train, oh yeah, we're passing through, Commercy or wherever it is on the way to Germany, but they're really circling back to Paris, which is just a brilliant, scheme on the part of the resistance to delay the train's, arrival in Germany.
Yeah, it was great. You know what it kind of reminds me of is Leish is the reluctant hero. He doesn't want anything to do with this train. He's dragged into it. His friend dies. It reminds me of the movie Tombstone. Have you ever seen it?
the Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer
Yes.
reenactment of the gunfight. Okay, cool. Yeah, sure. I love
Yes,
that movie.
where in that movie,
Justice is coming was the tagline for that
yeah,
movie.
Kurt Russell, the Wyatt Earp character,
Mhm.
he just wants to go to Tombstone to make money. He does
Right,
not want to get involved in the local problems.
right.
And his brothers, they decide they're going to become marshals or sheriffs in the town. And then he reluctantly gets dragged into it. And by the end, he's just absolutely, determined. And there's actually a scene with a train in it. And I just wonder how much Tombstone may have been influenced by the train. I don't know that it was, but I noticed the parallels. I thought it was interesting, the idea of the reluctant hero. Is that a common uh what's the word I'm looking for? Common theme in movies that you're aware of?
Off the top of my head, I'm not. I don't have any examples coming to mind, but I do think in the history of literature there are, there are cases, like that where the hero does not want to get involved in this quest. He just wants to live his life peacefully, and then something terrible happens to his family, or is done to his family or friends by the bad guy, and then you have a real tiger by the tail. Yeah, I think that's. I read Walter Scott's novel Rob Roy a long time ago, but I don't remember it. But the film version with Liam Neeson, wasn't it something like that? Was it?
I've never seen it or read it. I have read Ivanhoe and Waverly though.
Yeah, okay.
Both
Uh,
great books, by the way.
yeah, Walter Scott is a great romantic novelist, no
Yeah,
doubt. But
phenomenal.
if I remember correctly, they kill his family members, or something. That's what gets him, involved in this quest against the bad guy. I think it is a recurrent theme in literature.
So now I'm going to get to some stuff where I think we're going to disagree. The movie's a great action film, theme, plot, hero, everything. Where I thought it lacked was dialogue. So, do you disagree with that? That the dialogue in the movie is weak. Now, here's the thing. I'm a guy, I love dialogue. Like
Hmm.
the TV show House is my favorite show of all time because of the dialogue in the show. So it might just be my own personal bias, but I do think it lacks dialogue.
Well, that's the great thing about one of many great things about works of art. Viewers can share the same fundamental philosophy, but we respond to work of art also at a very personal level, in regards to our own values. Now, I love great dialogue also. So like the dialogue in Ayn Rand's novel, The Fountainhead, is just, extraordinary, because it's not just great dialogue, but it's great dialogue at a very high level of moral philosophy, which is completely integrated into the storyline. But at a simple level, there's a lot of hard-boiled detective fiction I like. So Raymond Chandler, Philip Marlowe character has great dialogue. Robert Parker, Spencer character always has great dialogue. Yeah, the dialogue in this film is not does it doesn't stand out in any way. But all the times I watched it, I didn't notice it as being detrimental. The story was very focused on the mission, and the dialogue. The dialogue is crisp in accordance with the plot. By the way, one great line that stood out to me was when London wants them to paint the first three cars in white paint, so to protect it from Allied planes. This is our train. Don't bomb it. And Burt Lancaster, LaBie says, they want us to paint the train. He says, "What do we give you?" Because it's in the Germans' hands. What are we going to tell the Germans? We're going to make the train pretty for its arrival in Germany. I thought that was a great line. I laughed. Make the train pretty for its arrival in Germany. There is some good lines in the film, but the dialogue I think is terse and tight, and it suits the plot. That's what I think.
Now, his anger, Labiche, is the Allies were supposed to come
Right.
and liberate France. And it seems to him, from his perspective, they're taking their sweet time. And meanwhile, putting demands on what he's supposed to be doing as part of the resistance. So he's understandably annoyed by this. And they tell him to paint the trains, and they actually start to paint the trains. They're painting them white, and they get caught. But what I thought was interesting was the antagonist. I can't remember his name now, but the
The Paul Scofield character.
Yes,
Yeah, von Waldheim.
yes, he figures it out
Yeah,
because they
he's
start to
smart.
clean the trains, and he says, "Oh no, 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 don't clean it. That's what's saving him." So that he was no dummy,
Yeah,
the
von Waldheim
antagonist.
is a colonel in the Wehrmacht. I don't think you rise to that level in the German army by being a fool.
No, so that starts for the epic ending of the movie where he is absolutely determined to get this train with the art on it to Germany. In order to accomplish that, he to dissuade now I can't remember his name. Burt Lancaster. I can't remember his
Labiche.
Labiche. To dissuade him from harming the train, he stacks it with French civilians. And so that begins the sort of finale of the movie. But what meaning does that have for you that he was willing, the French character I mean, not the French character, the Nazi colonel was willing to, for the sake of this art, to get it to Germany, stack the trains with people. But he also at the same time knew that the Burt Lancaster character would not harm the trains with those people on it.
Right, right. On a couple of points I want to make before we get to your
Sure.
question, Michael. Yeah, he's the Labiche is understandably angry. The Allied troops are taking their time, and they get the message from London. They want the first Allied troops to enter Paris to be a free French division. And so I guess it's a great gesture they want to make that some and Labiche is a gesture. They want to make a gesture. In the meantime, that takes more time than it would if we had American or British troops as the first ones to enter Paris. And meantime, we're dying and innocent French civilians are dying to save this art train. So that's one good point he makes. Another is, as you're right, von Waldheim realizes that they're scraping the paint. The Germans are scraping the paint off the top of the train, and then Allied bombers come through the train yards and they just fly over. They don't shoot. They don't shoot the guns. They don't drop bombs. And that's when von Waldheim realizes that's the purpose of the white roofs. The Allies don't want to destroy the French art. And he's telling them leave the paint on the roofs. Yeah, and so he takes advantage of the beach's humanity. They have all these French civilians, these hostages on the front, standing on the front of the locomotive, and so Labiche can't blow the tracks so the locomotive topples over because a lot of those people are going to be crushed, and so it really tests Labiche's ingenuity. He's going through the hills while the Germans are sending their troops, up ahead to keep the tracks safe. He got to get ahead of the German troops, and he was shot, at one point. So he's limping on one leg, and he's using his rifle for a crutch, and he comes down the hill, he rolls down the hill, actually gets ahead of them, and he loosens the rails enough so that the locomotive will go off the rails, but won't topple over, crushing the hostages. So yeah, von Waldheim is clever in his evil way because art means a great deal to him. Innocent human life does not, and he's willing to kill all. And in fact, in the end, they do kill all those hostages. The Germans machine gun them to death in a horrible scene. But there's some of the so he takes advantage. He tries to take advantage of Labiche's humanity, but Labiche outwits him. But there's you know there's one of the real serious questions that movie raises is to be a connoisseur of great art, and I like to think I am, especially in literature. I don't know the field of painting well at all, but I know literature, and I love great literature and great music. And to be a connoisseur of great art, you would think it's part of the humanities, Michael. We're supposed to be humane. We care about human achievement. We care about human life. And von Waldheim's a fascinating villain. He's a good villain because he legitimately loves these great artworks. The French curator, she even says to him, "I know you appreciate these great works and how you've saved them over the years, from Nazi desecration." Uh, he legitimately loves great art, but human life means nothing to him. Most of us are just a bunch of monkeys. Doesn't he call Labiche and his men
I think so.
monkeys at the end?
I
We're,
think
we're
so,
just
yeah.
yeah, we can't appreciate this great art. Not whereas Von Walton, I can appreciate this great art. And it can respond in the movie in effect, Labiche and the movie in effect responds to, yeah, that's good insofar as it goes, pal. But human life is the most innocent human life is the highest value, and you're a monster. You have no regard for innocent human life. What's the good of appreciating the humanities if you don't appreciate human beings?
Labiche, because he now can't blow up the train, which is what he wants to do, but he can't because there's civilians on it.
Well, the
He,
locomotive, he can't blow up the train because of the artworks, but he wants to blow up the locomotive.
yeah, the locomotive. So what he does is he blows up the tracks in front of him to stop them from going. And then in another instance of von Waldheim demonstrating his lack of concern for humans, there's a German convoy that's actually coming and it's heading out. And it's got, injured soldiers on it, all kinds of things. And he's like, let's get these guys off of this convoy and get the artwork on there because he's so determined to get that art to Germany. And of course, he doesn't do it, but that's a pretty powerful
Wait, he
scene.
he he
There's art
tries.
strewn all about. Yeah.
He tries. And the I think there's the commanding officer of the retreating German army with a great deal of wounded men, like you said, on the trucks and the convoys, and the Colonel von Waldheim outranks this officer, was a major, I think, in the German army who was commanding the convoy. And he said, I'm giving you a direct order, von Waldheim says, get your men off those trucks and we're going to load the artwork. And the major says to him, I don't remember his exact words, but the dialogue was pretty good, Michael. He said, something
There
like,
it was. Yeah.
I don't give a damn about your orders. There's a French armored division just over that hill, and my men are going back to Germany or whatever. They take precedence over your artworks. We have wounded German soldiers here. And so you see even some of the Nazi officers have more regard for human life, at least their own guys,
Yeah.
than von Waldheim doesn't even have regard for his own guys, never mind the French civilians.
And that leads to, in my view, perhaps the most powerful of the dialogue of the movie. It's the final confrontation between Labiche and von Waldheim when they're face to face at the end of the movie. And von
And
Waldheim
it's
tells
after
him,
after he's had the machine gun all
yes,
those innocent civilians, and the bodies are lying there.
yeah, they're all strewn about. There's artwork spilled, and you can see I don't remember the artist's name. I think Renoir
Yeah,
was
there's
one of them.
Degas,
Yeah.
Cezanne, Renoir. Yeah,
Yeah. And so the von Waldheim character tells him, you don't even care about this art. And the thing that struck me at the time, and I'm a little embarrassed to admit it, but I didn't even think about the dichotomy at that point between the value of human life on the one hand and the art on the other side. The only thing I thought of was, wow, this guy really, really values the art, and he's absolutely right that the Labiche character couldn't care less about it. It has no value for him. And now that I'm thinking about it, the interesting thing is it has no value for him, and human life has no value to von Waldheim. When in reality, they both should be of value in a hierarchy, right?
yeah,
Human life at the top of the hierarchy, but the artwork should also be in that value hierarchy. So in a sense, both of their value systems is off kilt. Now, obviously, I think that Labiche is off kilt in a better way because he absolutely does value human life. But I do think that he should be able to appreciate, even if he doesn't personally like the art, why it's so important.
yeah. That's a really good point. Excuse me, Michael. And here we see the theme of the movie. This conflict between the value of great art and the value of innocent human life. And I think, right, Labiche's value hierarchy is vastly better by whole orders of
Sure.
magnitude
Yeah.
than von Waldheim. He's a hero. Von Waldheim's a villain, a really good villain, but he's a villain. And we wonder so what happens at the end? Here's this big spoiler alert, everybody. Von Waldheim has just had his gunners, machine gun to death all these innocent civilians. All the other German troops have left the train to get on the convoys to to escape the advancing Allied army, the French armored division that's coming. Only von Waldheim is left. He won't leave the artwork. Uh, that's when he says, Labiche, you and your crowd is just a bunch. He gives his very platonic, very elitist view of every man and every woman. We're a bunch of monkeys. We can't appreciate great artworks. It's only the exalted few, the select few, the elite like von Waldheim would appreciate these great works of art. And he lambasts Labiche for his ignorance, for his being a low grade, low class, crass Philistine. He can't appreciate great art. Labiche says nothing to him. He doesn't say a word to him. He just stares at him, and then he looks at the artworks, like you said, these great works of art strewn across the ground because the Germans were starting to unload the train. He looks at all the dead bodies of civilians, and he takes his submachine gun and he says, and he kills von Waldheim, and he walks away, and you see as he walks away the dead bodies of the murdered civilians, the great works of art, uh, and we can hope that given that Labiche is a good man, and he's like the best of every man, or beyond that, because he's so heroic. Uh, like maybe he's like Mike Donegan in The Fountainhead, but a real but a real hero, a real man of action. Wonder if based on all this, he might come to appreciate the value of these artworks, or conversely, maybe he comes to hate them because they cost the lives of the rest of the resistance, or all these innocent civilians. We don't know. But we do know there's a lot of honest, hardworking, productive people, the Mike Donegans of the world, who are hardworking. He's a construction worker, who are not autistic. They don't really care about great literature or great art or great music. Their lives, I think, would be richer if they did, and maybe a better educational system would show them that. But they're good. They're good men and women. They're good people. They're morally, whatever their aesthetic tastes are, and they might prefer Laurel and Hardy, to who I like, by the way, or the Three Stooges, to Gone with the Wind, or War and Peace, or whatever. Their aesthetic tastes may be vulgar, perhaps, but morally, the most important thing is they're upright men and women, and that's who Labiche is, and the movie very clearly comes down on the side of ethics over aesthetics.
Yes. Yeah. It's an interesting thing you just mentioned there, because I know a lot of people that have never read Ayn Rand. They aren't objectivists. They haven't integrated egoism into their life, but nonetheless are decent, good people. They're honest, they're hardworking, they're loyal to their friends and family, they're not looking for handouts. And I think that gets lost sometimes in philosophical discourse, as if you have to be an objectivist to be a good person. But I don't think you do.
No, no, that would mean there were no good people in the world prior to
Right.
1957.
Right. But now that we've brought it around, back around to objectivism, considering Ayn Rand's theory of aesthetics, romantic realism, how would you rate this movie on a scale with that as the standard, with romantic realism as the
Well,
standard?
that's a good question, Michael. And before I get to that, we should point out the love story here with one of my favorite
You should
actresses.
let's back up to that a little bit.
Yeah.
It's funny because again, maybe a little embarrassing on my part, but that didn't really catch me too much.
Well, it got me. I'm a sucker for romantic love. Plus, I love Jean Moreau, the female lead, and the French actress who plays Christine in the movie. Jean Moreau, I never thought was beautiful by Hollywood standards, or by the standards of great actresses, although she's certainly very attractive, but she's so feminine. There's something about her that's just so feminine and so attractive. And she saves Labiche's life and she stands up to the Nazis. And she has some good lines too, mocking the Nazis to their faces in the in the movie. Yeah, when he's Labiche is wounded. He's hiding in the wine cellar, and she's coming up with the bottles of wine. You see Labiche, and she says, "Yeah, and General de Gaulle also. I always hide them in my wine cellar." She says to the Nazis, she overstates in mocking them, and they go away without going down. Labiche is down there with his knife, ready to kill somebody. But there's a love story, and I think since Labiche survives in the end, I think we get the impression. I don't know what his attitude is going to be towards the art or hers. She wasn't as concerned with the art as she was with human life. Also, she ran a hotel. But I think they're going to be together. I think the movie gives us the impression they're going to be together in a romantic relationship.
That's another interesting case with her character, because she is introduced basically as somebody, I'm just here to make money. I'm just here to run this
Yeah, I
hotel
want to make money, right?
and make my money. But then she becomes the reluctant heroine with regard to Labiche. He escapes. They give a little context here. So the German officers put him in her hotel, basically on house arrest, so that he could sleep for a couple hours and then take the train and get it to Germany. But in the
Which was a
meantime,
mistake on von Waldheim's part. You should never have put Labiche in charge of the train.
no. So Labiche then jumps out the window to take part in some sabotage. And when he gets back to the hotel, he doesn't make it to his room on time. And then she has him, just like he's been eating breakfast or dinner, whatever time it was, the whole time sitting at the table. And so she
the Nazis ask her, "How long has he
Yeah.
been here?" And she says, through soup, through bread, through
Yeah.
chicken.
Yeah.
She said, "It's a good line, Michael. It was a good line."
Yes.
Like,
And
of dialogue.
she risks her own safety
Yeah,
for this guy that she doesn't even know, such as, I guess, her disdain for the Nazis.
yeah, and
When
I think she has some immediate attraction. There's a kind of like love at first sight kind of thing. At least there's an attraction between them right from the jump.
So that was nice. So you have to add that back into the equation, or for the first time to the equation, when assessing the movie along the romantic realism sort of, I don't want to say axis, but with that as the background, with that as the standard. So how do you think the film ranks when judged by that criteria?
Was a couple of points. First of all, Ayn Rand, I think with brilliant insight into aesthetics, defined the Romantic school of literature as a school of volition that shows human beings as having free will and making moral choices. And my God, this movie we've been discussing them, is filled one moral choice after another. The curator says, "Please, save the art." She knows it's going to cost lives, but the other resistance guys choose, "Yes, we'll do it." Labiche says no, but they kill Papa Bull. That's it. He makes a very different choice. I'm on board now with this. And von Waldheim, the bad guy. I mean, he keeps choosing to murder innocent people. He chooses over and over again to place the artworks above and before human life throughout the movie. And the movie is very clear that human beings make moral choices. Some of them good, promoting innocent human life, and some of them very bad, to murder human life. So this is definitely a movie that underscores the role of volition in human life. And then, Michael, the way it's stylized, the way everything in the movie integrates to promote this conflict between love of art and love of humanity, this dichotomy that runs through the movie. Like you said, I think the dichotomy, in a way, I think is philosophically mistaken, but literarily the conflict it generates is brilliant. Doesn't A work of art doesn't have to be philosophically accurate in order to be artistically outstanding.
Right.
And this
And
movie is.
in it, to me, the passion in which the characters value is very much in line with the romantic realism. Even the absolute villain of the story, the passion with which he values good works of art is incredible. In Labiche, just the value of the French people and the civilians, equally his friend Papa Bull, his mentor that got killed. So I thought that that was just a very good aspect of the movie was the degree to which values were paramount in the film.
Yeah, absolutely. The essence of great literature is conflict. And my God, you have a hero who wants to achieve a certain goal. You have an antagonist who stands in his way. Well, here it's actually reversed. The antagonist wants to achieve a certain goal, and the hero stands in his way. But the conflict here is unremitting from beginning to end. And I'll tell you this, nobody plays a fanatic the way Burt Lancaster does. He is the absolute best, and he's a very underrated actor. So we have a few minutes left.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, I want to tell you a story. So the year is 1980. I'm a graduate student, and we're starting to teach, and we're having a meeting with our mentors, the graduate professors, the worst guys in the world, by the way, to teach you how to teach. But that's another story for another day. And I still remember this guy's name. William Fink was one of the students, and they were sitting around the table, a bunch of us, and most of us were quiet, but this kid Fink was talkative, and he says, I saw this movie last night, the train, he said, and I thought it was at first because it's an action adventure, it's a war movie. He says, I thought it was just another Burt Lancaster movie. Then I realized how it presents, this vision of atheistic, how did he put it? Of atheistic humanism or something like that. He said. So I had had to jump in. I said, wait a minute, time out. And that's the point I want to make right here. Burt Lancaster may be the most underrated actor in film. And that's odd to say because he was nominated for 4 Oscars. From Here to Eternity, where he was great. Elmer Gantry, where he won. The Birdman of Alcatraz, where he was great. And what was the 4th one? Atlantic City, I think. But he won for Elmer Gantry. He was nominated 3 other times. And yet he's underrated egregiously as an actor, I think, because like Fink said, he made all these action movies. He was an acrobat in real life. He was a physical specimen. He was athletic as hell. In fact, one of the famous movies he made was Trapeze, about, doing the triple somersault on the high trapeze with Tony Curtis and Gina Lollobrigida. But he made all these action movies. He was a big, robust physical specimen. I think people say, "Oh yeah, Burt Lancaster he's an action hero." It was like the Arnold Schwarzenegger of his day. No, no. He's a magnificent actor. He should have been nominated for The Train. He should have been nominated for Best Actor for The Train because he gives a magnificent performance in this movie. All 3 of the leads, Paul Scofield, Jean Moreau, Burt Lancaster, outstanding. But Burt Lancaster steals the show. He dominates it. He's magnificent. Once he gets on board with this project, nothing's going to stop him. You almost feel sorry for Von Waldheim. He's aroused this sleeping giant who is just going to stop at nothing to prevent those artworks from being stolen by the Nazis. Great performance by Burt Lancaster. Worth seeing the movie just for that alone.
So you started to teach not long after that, right?
Yeah. Well, I was teaching before that.
Yeah, I know Jim Valiant took your course. He tells me about it that he took your course on objectivism.
New School for Social Research, spring of 1984. Yes.
Really? Wow. Wow. I was 8. No, matter of fact, I was 7.
All right. Well, I was 33. And
Awesome.
yeah. But yeah, that was a good course. That was a fun course at the New School for Social Research. The amazing thing about the New School is complete subjectivism. Anything goes. The class before us in our room, we get there early and look in the window, was a class for witches and warlocks. It was frightening because all these witches, dressed up entirely in black and everything. But the thing about the New School was they're so subjectivist. Anything goes, like John Eric Knight says to Howard Rourke in The Fountain. Anything goes. The goofy, the better. Pull any stunt you want. Anything goes. Even objectivism. Even Ayn Rand. Even as something as far out as Ayn Rand. Yeah, we could do that at the New School.
Jeez.
That's their MO.
All right. Well, we're going to do this again soon. We'll pick another movie, but until then, where can people find you?
Well, they can find me on my website at andrewbernstein.net. They can find me on Facebook and Twitter, but my website is the best place, andrewbernstein.net. So all my books and
tell them about your books. You got books, you got essays, you write.
Oh yeah, well, I just happen to have one right here. My recent book on education, why why Johnny still can't read or write or understand math, and what we could do about it,
What we
the
can do about
positives
it.
here, yeah, how we can improve that. But they can find out my book on heroes, heroes, legends, champions, why heroism matters, my novel Reckoning. There's a whole, the Brooklyn stories, my collection of short stories. They can find all of that material up on my website at andrewbernstein.net.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being here again, and we got to do this again soon.
Oh, this is fun, Michael. So
Oh, it's
thanks for having me
great.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, I get to watch movies and pretend I'm working. It's great.
Yes, it is. And there are a lot of movies great movies and unheralded
Sure.
gems like The Train, which a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah, you're gonna have to put me on to some of them because maybe some of them I never heard of before my
Yeah,
time.
some of
But
them go back before my time too. But when I was a kid, late 1960s, when Johnny Carson was the king of late night TV on NBC, CBS in the New York area had the Late Show. And then at 11:30, and then the late show at like 1:30. And I didn't want to get up in the morning to go to high school anyway because I hated it. So I stayed up and I watched all these old movies with John Wayne and Clark Gable and Betty Davis and all these great, Ingrid Bergman, all these great icons of the golden age of Hollywood. So yeah, I know a lot about these great old movies.
awesome. All right. Well, for now, this is the Rational Egoist signing out. Till next time.